Look, the truth is I am a recruiter. I love being a recruiter. It's deep inside my soul. It's what I have a passion for doing. And so, sometimes people come up to me and they're like afraid to say the word recruiter or headhunter. I have no problem with it. I love it. And the truth is, I've been fortunate enough to be involved with a few companies that had some pretty good success. And so what I'm hoping to do is really just share some insights that I've gleaned over the last 20 years in helping build some pretty neat kind of high growth companies. And so I also, got a chance to meet a lot of you folks and beautiful families here. I thought that I would introduce my family as well. They couldn't be here. But so this is my wife, Barbara. She kind of keeps me on my toes. Beautiful and patient. These are our identical twin boys, Liam and Ryan. Liam took 4th place out of 25 kids yesterday in the spelling bee. And he thinks he can win it next year. And Liam is a budding triathlete, which really is quite impressive. And so, look, the truth is when I'm not spending time with my family, I get to spend time with 3 groups that I have a tremendous amount of respect for. The top CEOs of high growth companies, the top venture capital investors around the country, and the top 1% of talent, right? So I'm out there, I'm speaking to the top 1% of CFOs, chief technology officers, chief data science officers, VPs of engineering, and so on. And, frankly, I can't even believe I get paid for it. I get a chance to kind of exchange ideas with them and synthesize and make connections as much as I can. And I just love building value and creating value by doing that. And so I was actually out to breakfast with one of these gentlemen, a gentleman named Roelof Botha with Sequoia Capital. And so Roelof Botha was the CFO of PayPal, took the company public, ultimately sold it to eBay. And then he joined Sequoia Capital and was the lead investor in a little company called YouTube, and then proceeded to make investments in Tumblr, Square, Jawbone, Evernote, and a bunch of other companies. And so we're out to breakfast. We've been trying to get together for a while. And he says to me, so we finally had breakfast downtown in Manhattan, and he says to me, look, Dave, the reason you're so busy, the reason I am so busy is because the 7 layers of the OSI model have gotten so efficient, right? The way that electrons become bits and bytes, and become something useful on our smartphones, is they have to travel through the 7 layers of the open systems internetwork model. And because of efficiencies in things like cloud computing and the infrastructure layers, things have gotten so fast and so good that the only thing that's left to do is for the entire world to be reinvented at the applications layer. And that's exactly what's happening. We're in a new economy, he said, and it's called the app economy, and it's going to last about 7 years. And so I thought that was pretty compelling. And so, I kind of dug into the data a little bit, and this is what it looked like. Everything was affected by 2009. In 2009, everything was affected by the Great Recession. But since then, investment in New York City tech have been booming, right? About 10 years ago, San Francisco was 10x what the investment in New York City was. Last year, it was 4x. And it looks like between 12 and 13, we might even be accelerating, right? And so I think the message here is that entrepreneurism, venture investing in New York City tech is alive and well. Entrepreneurism is alive and well. And what I want to talk about here today with you guys is simply, I think that the venture community can do more, right? There's a fair amount of fake it till you make it in entrepreneurism, right? I mean, Bill Gates couldn't possibly deliver 50,000 operating system programs, but he committed to it, and he got it done somehow. And I think that that's the very nature of entrepreneurism. And so what I want to help with is just provide some insights, some tools that I think can help the entrepreneurs be more successful and really kind of have less of the pain, suffering, and self-inflicted brain damage that I'm going to talk a little bit about. And so without further ado, actually, I want to ask you folks for a little crowd participation. We're going to talk about the wee-wees that I see, and frankly, this is just from talking with so many entrepreneurs, talking with so many venture guys, and talking with so many executives that are coming and going from companies. These are the 3 things that I see most often, right? And so these are the 3 lies that entrepreneurs tell themselves. So lie number 1, we are the hottest game in town. Everybody say it with me. We are the hottest game in town. It feels pretty good. I hear this from entrepreneurs all day long, every day. Another variation is we are the greatest show on earth. Lie number 2, we hire the best people. Some of the entrepreneurs even make the pose. This is, for you Ben Stiller fans, this is from Dodgeball. You're going to like the third one. And then lie number 3 is we have the best culture. And so these are the you know, kind of repeatedly. And look, and I'll tell you, I love to party as much as the next guy. A lot of entrepreneurs, because there's such a very strong wave of entrepreneurism, and you know, look, the average age of entrepreneurs is kind of like sliding lower into the 20s. The truth is that most people don't actually know what building a great culture looks like. And I'm gonna, if these are the 3 lies, I'm actually gonna talk about the 3 truths. So the reason that we are the hottest game in town is a lie, is because except for all the other hot games in town that are doing this little thing called execution. I've had the good fortune of, just in the last couple of years, helping companies Tumblr and Buddy Media and Shutterstock, which are perhaps the most successful stories in New York City tech in the last few years. And I can tell you that those companies are building sophisticated systems for execution, sophisticated systems for people, for delivery of HR services. And they're really look like these companies, like the picture on the right-hand side, developing weapons-grade plutonium, right? And the reason that a lot of the early stage guys and the Series B even, they really look more like, you know, kind of the guy rubbing a stick on a piece of wood. And it's really about execution, right? The reason lie number 2 is a lie is because it only takes a few questions to realize that they have absolutely no structured thinking around how to evaluate talent. The book Top Grading is the authority on executive assessment and selection. There's no better book out there. And then there's a follow-on book called Who, which answers perhaps the most important question for entrepreneurs today, which is not what to do, rather who to do it. And so, you know, I'm going to try to keep it short. I can talk about this stuff all day long, right? But at the end of the day, the message that I want to convey is really threefold. 1, hire the best people. 2, create a culture of high performance. And 3, develop leadership. And there really is nothing better that you can do to maximize value creation. 20-70-10 is a variation of the Pareto principle, and it was first espoused by Roberto Goizueta, and then adopted by Jack Welch, right? And it basically says that 20% of your employee base will rise up and become the high-performance all-stars and the future leaders of your company. 70% will be the critical mass, and the bottom 10% you should be exiting every year. And because on internet time, 2 internet years equals 1 calendar year, like I propose you do this like every 6 months, right? There's nothing better that you can do for in terms of performance to keep it sharp, and really creating a culture of high performance. Celebrate the achievers, right? Celebrate the high performance every 6 months, and also quietly exit the people who aren't performing. So, in the movie One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, the character played by Randall McMurphy, Mac, played by Jack Nicholson, commits himself to the mental ward because he thinks it'll be more comfortable than serving a jail sentence at a work farm. Many entrepreneurs today commit themselves to startup life because they think it'll be more comfortable than working for a big company or for someone else. And I get that, and I think it makes a lot of sense, right? There's a certain amount of anti-establishment, disruptive nature in entrepreneurs. And I think it's honorable. In fact, I think that's what makes certain entrepreneurs so brilliant at disrupting an entire industry. At the same time, opportunity without structure is chaos. And so in very early stage startups, there's absolutely no structure. But the other side is also true that with big companies, there's too much structure and it's confining. And so I want to talk a little bit about that. And then I want to just really provide some insights on how to actually do this really well. So this is what big company jail looks like. We sold Hot Jobs to Yahoo in February of 2002. By the early 2000s, Yahoo was the biggest, most successful internet company on the planet ever. The promise of 18 million uniques plugged into the Hot Job system was going to just blow away all revenue projections that we'd thought. In the 8 years that followed, when we sold Hot Jobs, we were doing 125 million in revenues. Monster was doing 400 million in revenues. Monster continued to grow over the next 8 years to 1.6 billion in revenues. 8 years later, Yahoo sold Hot Jobs to Monster for 225 million. There's more than a 200 million destruction of value. And that's just a drop in the bucket for the lost opportunity that Yahoo would see for years to come. And it's because they spent too much time looking like this. And so I think what's more important than goals is having high standards of excellence, having high standards, right? Because when you hit your goals can be achieved, and when you hit your goals, only by having higher standards are you going to set even higher goals. And in fact, Hot Jobs was the first acquisition made by Terry Semel. When he had arrived, it was already too late. The culture had gone too far askew, and he couldn't do anything about it. More is lost by indecision than wrong decision. The ability to fail forward fast, to take risk, to fail, to calibrate, to try again, all seem to be very important for execution. Risk-taking, judgment, and decision-making has to be nimble, and it has to be agile. Okay, startup DNA. There's a lot of talk about startup DNA, so I just want to define it, right? Startup DNA is the burning desire, passion that an entrepreneur has to create wow in the recipient of the end user customer. And it's the job of the entrepreneur to infect a small group of people with the same burning passion. And then that small group of people has to infect a slightly larger group of people. And that's how you spread startup DNA, right? The social psychologists have documented the lasting effects of first impressions. And I say, why not use this to your advantage, right? Create a well-planned, robust program for onboarding, integration, early training program to create everybody in your company into a missionary. And I think that's what's important, these three things. Because if you don't, if a company fails to execute or becomes complacent or skew, somebody gets a black eye. It's usually the CEO. And then you guys, the board members, have to make a tough decision. Or maybe not so tough decision. I think it's three things, right? Hire the best people, build the right culture, develop the leadership. We're all looking to conquer the world with what we're doing. We need good people to help us do it. People who want to achieve success for themselves and can help us do it as a company. Make culture and people your strategic advantage. Invest in people as much as you invest in product from the very first day. So Warren Buffett never misses a chance to emphasize how he treats people humanely, and that Berkshire is a family. And so he says, you know, look, the best thing you can do is invest in your own talent, invest in your leadership to create a tremendous asset that will have a 10x return on investment. So every CEO that I know that reads the book, The 5 Dysfunctions of a Team, gets it. Jack Welch said, it's the soft skills that are the hard skills, right? And so being able to talk about trust, conflict, commitment, accountability, and results, this is the stuff that matters. This is how you build a culture of high performance. So make a culture the destination, a culture of high performance, and an effective people strategy, the roadmap, right? All high performance teams go through 4 stages: forming, storming, norming, and performing. And whenever somebody enters or leaves the team, the entire team comes crashing back down to forming. And so the name of the game is to increase the velocity with which the team can get right back up to high performance. And the only way to do that is by being able to have dialogue, right? An organization is a complex network of conversations. And the health of the organization is determined by the caliber of discourse. And so elevate the conversation by being able to talk about the soft skills. Culture is everything. Like all the surveys ever done on human motivation and work list compensation as like number 4 or 5. Number 1, number 2, and number 3 are always some juxtaposition of working with other smart people, the ability to learn and grow, and culture, right? And so the CEO really needs to like care about people, and then the people will care about the organization, about the company and the business and the customers. Because at the end of the day, it's really just 3 things. It's people, idea, capital. capital is abundant. It's a very important part of the recipe, but it's also important not to overestimate its importance. Idea is actually overrated. More important than the idea is execution. Execution is all about people. So it's people and capital. Of the two, by far, people are the most important. You don't build a business, you build people. And the people will build a business. And it's got to start at the top, right? The biggest transition that a visionary entrepreneur will make, or not make, is to become a leader. To become a courageous leader, right? Because, and this is what I find often, right? And this is what I talk to when I'm out there talking to like the senior executives. Can the entrepreneur step up and actually become a leader of leaders, right? And they're so busy disrupting an entire industry. The truth of the matter is that management, communication, and leadership as professional disciplines don't need to be reinvented. They need to be learned, internalized, and cultivated. And this is where I think the venture guys can really, really help the CEOs. And so Abraham Lincoln said, everything I want to learn, everything I want to know is in books. My best friend is the person who brings me a book I haven't yet read. And so I think probably the second best thing that a venture person can do after writing a big check is giving them these 12 books, right? Because what's important is to create a common vernacular, a framework, a common vocabulary on how to actually talk about things like management and professional disciplines. And so every CEO, I believe, needs a Gandalf or an executive coach. And every CEO needs some kind of a executive search person or HR person, right? Because no company ever became awesome because they were really good at doing payroll or benefits administration or 401k plan. And look, I became a recruiter because I couldn't stand HR, right? But there is tremendous value. The most important aspects of HR in an early stage company that probably won't hire like a VP of HR until they're 100 people strong. The most important part of HR, however, is culture and people. How to strategically plan and hire the best people out there. And that's why I think CEOs need the help of, and I certainly don't want to talk to them necessarily. But they need the insights on how to actually do things like top grading correctly. And so at the end of the day, I think the venture people can be remembered as someone who offers capital or be remembered as someone who can offer so much more. Help the entrepreneurs develop their leadership, hire the right people, and really create a culture of high performance.